Howdy-ho, Andrew here. Welcome to the Onion Buns, and welcome to another episode of Let's Talk. So, Canada has some interesting stuff going on right now. And one of the things that's going on right now is a completely nonpartisan department of the federal government. It's not a liberal, it was appointed by the Liberals, and now they hate the guy because he won't lie for them. He just keeps telling the truth. But he's completely nonpartisan. He's not liberal. He's not conservative. He's not NDP. He is a financial guy. And he has come out with a scathing, absolutely scathing fiscal report on the direction of Canada under Mark Carney. It is at the point where it's being tossed around that in 1.5 years, if we have not corrected course off of what Mark Carney is proposing right now, Canada will be bankrupt, completely gone. And this was predicted by a lot of people outside of the mainstream media during the federal election. It's just nobody wanted to listen to any of us. Like, the evidence was there. We all gave the evidence. I used to run a weekly episode called The Real Mark Carney, where I just exposed Mark Carney's horrible, evil, dastardly deeds around the world. And nobody wanted to listen. Nobody was watching. Other channels have done it. And, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. So now, to have a completely nonpartisan person come out and say it, the same mainstream media that's been carrying water for Carney is sitting up and taking notice now and going, wait a second, what's going on here? How much damage are we really in? And that's what this episode is about. I'm going to do a react video off of Jasmine Lane because I've watched Moose on the Loose and Elevate and Mark Nixon, but I think Jasmine did the best coverage of this story. So I'm going to do a react video off of her rather than splice together all the same sources and all the same articles and everything that she's already done. And I'll give them, as always, I'll give my 2, 3, 4 cents into the conversation. But yeah, she nails it. And really, it's just a news article that you won't really see on the mainstream media because they still won't give you the full story. And that's one of the reasons why I watch all of these YouTube newscasts, is because they take the CBC, the CTV, the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Red Star. Okay, nobody reads the Toronto Red Star, cancel that. And Global, and they take the clips, but then they fill in all the stuff that those guys intentionally leave out. So with the YouTube guys, you are actually getting the full story. And with the mainstream media, you only get this little sliver of the story that they want you to hear. So anyway, watch this. It's, first off, it's fascinating, but second off, it's terrifying. Like, Canada really is going down a very dangerous slide. And if we don't correct it in the next few months, I hesitate to say where Canada's going to be. And I don't want to sound defeatist, but, we can't survive what he's doing to our country. So anyway, let's take a look. All right, first off, Doug Ford. Doug Ford is about to bash Carney and bash Fraser and blah, blah, blah. I have one word for Doug Ford. And don't pretend you're so outraged, doughboy. You did everything in your power to get Mark Carney elected. You backstabbed Pierre Poilievre. You lied. You played up the Fear America angle to your own benefit to get another term. So, yeah, I may agree with what he's saying. I don't agree with the man saying it because he is just as much to blame for the state Canada's in as anyone else.
This is the worst decision Prime Minister Carney has ever done, and it will be an absolute disaster.
Mark Carney was indeed right over something I have so frequently mocked him over, and I feel really stupid for it now. But I think instead of mocking him for those words, we should really be paying attention to it now. Doug Ford tore into Sean Fraser in a way that makes me feel happy and equally frustrated. I'm Jasmine Lane. Subscribe, like, follow, and comment your thoughts down below. As always, share this video.
As always, I will put Jasmine Lane's YouTube channel into the description of this video I'm making. So if you want to watch her stuff, and I encourage everybody to watch her stuff. She is excellent. So if you want to watch her stuff, just look in the description of this video and there will be a link to her channel and you can click on it and subscribe and you're golden. But please subscribe to my channel before you subscribe to hers.
And speaking of Carney, he just got slapped in the face by his own appointee. All that and more coming up today on Over Opinionated.
I have a message today for every young man across Canada. Everyone who feels anxious about his future because he works hard and can't get ahead. Everyone who wonders if the struggle is worth it. It's not your fault. It's not your fault. You are not the problem in this country. In fact, you are a big part of the solution. You deserve better leadership in Canada. You deserve a government that empowers you to live up to your potential. And the reality is that that's not the case right now. You deserve better, and a brighter future is possible. A future where you are valued and encouraged, a future where you are treated like a priority. We need you. And we need you to speak clearly, tell the truth, organize, and be undeniable. We need you to help us restore the North.
Absolutely correct. Giovanni is 1,000% correct. You know, I had a disagreement with a guy I know the other day. I was posting about job, like kids not being able to get jobs, low non-skilled workers not being able to get jobs because temporary foreign workers get all the jobs. You know, and I'm actually not anti-immigration. I'm just anti-illegal immigration. And I do consider funneling in thousands and thousands and thousands of temporary foreign workers to be kind of a form of illegal immigration because they're taking jobs away from Canadians. And he's exactly correct. It's like, you know, a Tim Hortons will post a job and they'll get 500 to 1,000 applications and they will go with the temporary foreign worker because they get a kickback from the federal government. That's not the kids' fault. That's not the seniors' fault. They're trying, they're applying, they're doing everything they are supposed to be doing. It's the government's fault because the government has set up a system that Canadians can't get hired. And so the guy I was talking to, he's like, well, nobody wants to work. And I'm like, no, that's bullshit. That is left-wing bullshit. And the reason I've worded it that way is because him and I both know people that go on and on and on about universal basic income because they don't want to work. They want free money, you know, but they are not the majority. They are a slim minority of far lefters. The majority of Canadians want to work. It's just the federal government, Trudeau and Carney, have set up a system that Canadians cannot work.
Whew, that one has made me so emotional. I do want to let you know that Jamel Giovanni is going to be on the show in the near future. But the reason why that made me so emotional is because that right there is the entire reason why I took the biggest risk of my life. I lost my job in mainstream media. I got completely blacklisted from mainstream media outside of a handful of radio shows in Canada and the US who...
If you're wondering why, she's conservative. That's all it takes in Canada to get blacklisted from mainstream media nowadays. If you think that's acceptable, you are part of the problem.
Occasionally have me on to discuss politics was because of that. What Jamil Giovanni said there is a conversation that I had so many times with my late boyfriend before he left this earth. And I just wish he could have held on longer to hear it from somebody other than me. And of course, that message was met with a lot of backlash from far radical leftists who really just have no empathy or humanity left in them, calling him a proud boy. saying that he's a real creep for saying this. I completely reject that premise overall, and I really do pray for people who view the world like that, especially when there's things like this that are so real. And personally, I thank Jamil Javani for saying what he did, saying what so many people need to hear, young men, young women, everybody, and most importantly, reminding them that he sees them, because that's really important. That's really, really important in this world.
How did our country score, Renee? Well, not great, Marcia. Food insecurity and poverty, believe it or not, up by almost 40% nationally over the past 2 years. That is.
I absolutely believe it. Food banks are at an all-time high demand. Food cost is insane. Like, I love steaks, and I haven't had a steak in 5 years now because I can't afford them. Just can't afford them. What used to be a $15 steak now runs around $50. So who can afford that?
According to Food Banks Canada's National Poverty Report Card, which for 2025 gave Canada's poverty reduction efforts a grade of D. Now, that grade is an average of 3 criteria. You can see them on your screen. Our overall grade is D. For unemployment, which went into that overall grade, we get even worse. We get an F. The report says joblessness is up by 34% since 2023, with youth feeling it the most. Then on food insecurity, another failing grade, with more than a quarter of households struggling to afford food, and that is up from just over 18% in 2023. With visits to food banks up by 90% since 2019, according to Food Banks Canada.
So this report came out just a few days ago, and obviously it's terrible. It's one of the many reasons why when people still vote Liberal, what? How?
Okay, I can answer that for her. The people that vote Liberal don't care. They don't. They don't care about the issues. They don't care about reality. They don't care about people. They only care about ideology. And I find this, like, I'm in Edmonton, so I'm surrounded by left-wingers, and I use my YouTube to talk about politics, and Facebook and Twitter. When I'm in public, I don't talk a lot about politics, but every once in a while, somebody will drag me into that conversation. And what I find is the left-wingers, they don't care. They're not smart people. They don't care. They are voting ideology. They are not voting reality. They don't understand what's going on. And again, they don't care what's going on. They only care about themselves. How does it affect them personally? And yeah, that's why they keep voting. It's like, I'm a moderate myself. I'm not a conservative. I'm not a liberal, though I have voted liberal in the past, and I do vote conservative right now because they're closest to the center. But I get classified by these far lefties as being alt-right all the time. All the time. Because in their narrow mind, anyone to the right of them, and they're at the extreme radicalized far lefts of the spectrum, anyone to the right of them is a right-winger. That's how damaged their mind is. I use the word indoctrinated all the time, but it's true. They have been indoctrinated to think this way, or maybe thinking isn't the proper terminology, to view this way.
What are you doing? I wanted to have you just take a listen to how the Liberals are defending this. It's pretty entertaining.
Food Banks Canada does essential work on the front lines, but they also make recommendations for politicians like us for better policies to support Canadians. So I'd put it back on that member. When we had a vote in this House of Commons just not that long ago on a national school food program, he voted against it. Every time we have a policy to support Canadians like $10 a day childcare or dental care, they vote against it. When we bring forward measures to ensure that there's more affordable housing for Canadians, they vote against it. So if you're going to quote the Food Banks Canada report, please read the report and consider.
What does the food bank have to do with school lunches? The two don't compare to each other. Food bank is for families. School lunches is for lunchtime at school. And the reason I get so fed up with these frickin' liberals, the reason the Conservatives voted against the school lunches is because every province has school lunches already. It's a provincial issue. It's not a federal issue. That's why the federal government school lunches were voted against. It's really quite simple. The feds are once again trying to grab power over everybody. The schools already have school lunch policies all across Canada. It's a provincial issue. It's not a federal issue. But they never tell you that part of the story.
Consider some of their recommendations.
First and foremost, let's clear that up. Food Banks Canada never once mentioned that the Liberals should bring forth a $10 a day childcare. They didn't explicitly demand that a national school food program should be included. They did, however, say, we can credibly say this, that Food Banks Canada included the Liberals' plan with $10 a day childcare, national school food program in its list of promising social tools to reduce poverty. They did not require that being the solution at all. They proposed multiple levers, and that was one that the Liberals had been discussing at the time. And they said, yeah, if this is done right, it could maybe kind of help. Possibly. And we have certainly seen the way in which this narrative, this framing has manipulated and just totally brainwashed the population, because somehow it's such a lazy smear. That's why it's so frustrating. Somehow in the Liberals' mind, and they know that this isn't the case either, they just say it because it wins them votes, voting against a specific spending bill, a top-down approach, a one-size-fits-all in a situation where that really doesn't apply. They want to try to convince you that that is the same as opposing feeding kids or supporting families. That's not it at all. That's ridiculous. The real test isn't how you voted. It's, okay, great. Did the program work? The answer, absolutely not. Oh, wow, we were right again. Crazy.
How do they not understand if they stopped taxing Canadians to death, you wouldn't need the program? After 10 years of the Liberal government's reckless spending, prices of groceries continue to rise. The PM said he'd be judged by the cost at the grocery store. Well, among Saskatchewan children, 35% live in food insecure households. When will these Liberals scrap their industrial carbon tax, scrap their second carbon tax, scrap their food packaging taxes so Canadians can afford to feed their own kids?
And ultimately, if you think it's normal for the government to step in ways like they have, you are the problem. You are the problem. Nobody else but you. Because you should not be taxed so hard, one of the highest taxed nations, that the government has to step in to cover your dental care. Make that make sense. Inflation caused by their money printing and reckless budgets shouldn't be so bad that they have to feed your kids at school. They do all of these things that destroy us, and then they want us to praise them for, instead of reversing course on all of that, like any normal person would do, they then want to use even more tax dollars to do something to make you more dependent on the government. That is not normal. You should not be so strapped for cash that a government subsidized $10 a day daycare is something that even needs to be swooped in with. If you think that's normal, give your head a shake.
I can confirm he definitely does not know my mother. In fact, my mother knew how to budget better than anyone. She could stretch a dollar farther. In fact, I think she should come in here as the finance... We sure wouldn't have a PBO report showing the government adding $1/3 of $1 trillion of extra deficits. We know that every single dollar this Prime Minister spends comes out of the pockets of hard-working Canadians. Why don't they know that?
The Minister is so out of touch because she doesn't understand that those kids still are hungry every evening and every weekend and every summer holiday because their parents can't afford to put food on the table because of this Liberal government's inflationary deficits that are driving up food costs, money printing deficits, plus record high food bank use, plus Canadians skipping meals equal an F for this Liberal government. Will the Liberals vote for our Conservative motion to cut their inflationary taxes on food prices for Canadians today?
No, we won't vote for their motion.
You just heard it out of this idiot's mouth. Conservatives are asking for cuts on taxes so that we can all eat, afford food. No, we will not vote for their motion. But how can you not get behind making food affordable for Canadians? How?
We are going to be busy over here putting in place supports for Canadians that he will vote against.
Call me a radical, but I pray the Conservatives continue to vote against all of those harmful policies that the Liberal government plans to implement. All of those things that they lie about. Oh, you're compassionate. Ooh, you're so mean and awful and evil if you're not compassionate about us wanting to have even more control, top-down control. Yeah, you're such a bad person. If you just want to be able to make money and not have the government intervene in every aspect of your life, from your bedroom all the way to your wallet, I pray that more parties start voting against those things. As we can see here, this chart, it's Canada, the industrial implosion, investment in...
Okay, I'm going to pause it here because I want to show you. 2015, right here. That is where Justin Trudeau, so we were right up here when Justin Trudeau got elected. And what happened after Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney came into power? Had a slight bump in 2020 and then bottom out. It's been downhill the entire time. And yeah, but look at the states. Boom, boom, boom. Even under Biden, they were going up. And they dropped a bit here. I think that was COVID, actually. Yeah, 2020, that was COVID. And then they going back up. You know, there is the indicator. This was Harper. From here, this way was Harper. So this was the worldwide financial crisis. We all know what happened there. The States got hit even worse than us. And, okay, so the world took a dip there. So, you know, you can basically cancel out this because the States created that worldwide crisis. So, but yeah, this is Harper. It's like he came in, when did he come in? I think it was right around here he came in. So it went up with his policies were working until Trudeau came in, and then it went down. And then Carney came in, and now we're bottoming out.
Industrial machinery and equipment volumes. And it really does signal something horrifying about what is happening to our country here. Because as we can see, and there's data that coincides with this to show just how much our economy has deteriorated as a result of these changes. For most of the last couple of decades, Canada was on par, at some points even above the United States in these sectors. And you see, around 2015 in particular, it goes from a typical trend in the downward direction that we can see clearly from the 1990s to 2005 even, where we're just a little bit below the U.S., and it actually starts to take a huge plummet in 2015. Funny, isn't it? While the U.S. starts to expand. And if we take a look at the differences in our economies, the U.S. is actually creating more GDP. Canada's not. It's losing it.
Again, how alarming is that for the average Canadian, for the taxpayer? Because there is only one taxpayer, right?
It should be very alarming.
This is the guy I was telling you. He's completely nonpartisan. PMO is... he does finances. He talks about Canada's fiscal health. That's all he talks about. He's not a conservative. He's not a liberal. He's not an NDP. He is strictly an accountant, going by the numbers.
Right. These are, I don't know, I think I used the words in French, which the translators probably got really well, like stupefying, shocking, right? This is not, like, it's not a funny fiscal outlook. It's a really serious fiscal outlook. And we don't lightly use the word unsustainable, right? Unsustainable means you don't have the option of saying, maybe I'll wait a couple of years, I'll see how things go. It means if you don't change, this is done, right? So it's very serious.
But instead of reversing course in many of the areas that Doug Ford is about to highlight for you, the Liberals just want to waste even more money with stupid stuff that nobody is asking for.
Why doesn't the minister actually go forward and start focusing on bail reform? Why doesn't he start focusing on mandatory sentencing? Why doesn't he focus on Young Offenders Act? There's not one person I've talked to that has said, we want to give the judges, more politically appointed judges, more authority. I haven't heard one person. But he's so bent on going up there. He messed up the immigration. He's messed up housing. Now they put him in as Attorney General. He needs to focus on what counts for the people. So yeah, and by the way, let me tell you something. It's not just this premier. His premiers across the country are on fire. This is the worst decision Prime Minister Carney has ever done. And it will be an absolute disaster. And I don't believe it's going to go through. It just takes Quebec and Ontario to block it. You need 2/3 of the premiers and 50% of the population. So why is he wasting his time? He should get back to work and focus on what areas really matter.
What?
Yeah, but again, I don't disagree with what Doug Ford's saying, okay? Every once in a while, he hits on something true. But I just reject him saying it because he's one of the main reasons Carney got elected. He backstabbed Poilievre completely. Just here. Yeah. And he did it over and over and over. And he's been sucking up to Carney nonstop during the election and since the election. So congratulations, Doug Ford. What we told you was going to happen is now happening. And now you want to act like you care? Why weren't you caring before? I have absolutely no respect for Doug Ford. I thought his brother was amazing mayor of Toronto. It's a shame about the drug habit, but Rob Ford was freaking amazing. He was a people's person. And he cared about his constituents. Doug Ford only cares about grabbing hold of power.
But according to Francois-Philippe Champagne, they totally are.
On this side of the house, we're about building the future. We're going to present a budget that's going to build this nation, Mr. Speaker. It's going to be a generational investment in our future.
Every time you hear generational investment, that means deficit. They are running up the deficit. What happens when you run up the deficit? Interest rates get higher. Cost of living gets higher. Inflation increases. It gets more expensive for you living. They just have this keyword of generational investment. It's bullshit, people.
We're going to build the country. We're going to build jobs. We're going to create the opportunities for young people in this country. We're going to build the strongest economy in the G7. And we hope the Conservative will vote for this budget because it's about building our nation, Mr. Speaker.
Oh, I sure hope that they don't, because it's been over a decade now, my guy. Question, you've actually increased our budget. You have been doing generational spending this whole time. And what do we have to show for it? And now you just want us to say, do a little bit more? Yeah, that's not really how that works.
This prime minister is more expensive than even Justin Trudeau. Wow. The PBO reports that the deficit is now 2/3 higher than the one Trudeau left behind. Over the next 5 years, this prime minister will add an amazing $300 billion of additional inflationary debt, twice what Trudeau would have added, all of which will add to the cost of living for Canadians. Why is it how is it possible that any prime minister could have been more expensive than Trudeau?
I'll tell you how. Because Mark Carney wasn't lying, actually, when he said this is a new Liberal government. He keeps highlighting that. Our new government.
Actually, what Carney said recently is New World Order. No word of a lie. Him and his Liberal Party have been saying it numerous times now. New World Order. And make no mistake, that's not a slip of the tongue. That is their agenda.
New government. We have a mandate. And he wasn't wrong, actually. And as I write on X, I will no longer be tolerating any of the bots or blind followers that claim Canada is okay under this Liberal government. Carney is right when he says it's new. He is for the first time admitting what Justin Trudeau tried to hide and then showed us through his every move. This is new liberalism, not the old center left that once claimed to balance prosperity with social social safety nets. This is an ideological experiment where economics don't matter, where industry is sacrificed to virtue signaling, and where the very foundation of our prosperity is hollowed out in the name of progress. That's why our industrial investment chart looks like this. While America builds, Canada collapses. This is not normal. This is not sustainable. This is not Canadian liberalism as we once knew it. It's something far more reckless and extreme. It is indeed new. And I don't think there's any more validity to that than the fact that Canada was once a really good country. It was, until this new liberalism started to show its face. And, you know, I really do believe that everything happening with Donald Trump in the U.S. and these tariffs, how it's all been overblown, Mark Carney going on so frickin' many taxpayer-funded, jet-fueled, so much for climate change trips around the globe, signals exactly the end result of what's happening here. I don't think I've ever been so embarrassed as a Canadian watching our prime minister fly around like a salesman trying to convince other countries to trade with us. Those countries are signing deals with the USA. They're not picking Canada. Industries are leaving Canada for one very specific.
I just posted this on my Facebook yesterday, but yeah, another company moving to the States. Just company after company after company is leaving Canada. It's not fiscally viable for them.
Reason, and that is this new liberalism that isn't working. Trade partners used to come to us because we were competitive, we were stable, we had good ethics, things like that, and we were worth investing in. The Liberals made the business investment a disaster, and then on top of that told countries like Japan, like Germany, no. And then those countries, because the U.S. heard that and thought, you guys are freaking crazy, and they started building all of these terminals, which Canada refused to. Those countries then moved on. And now we're the ones knocking on doors, begging for a seat at the table because it's not sustainable what they have done, but rather than reverse course, they want to just keep on doing what doesn't work. This isn't leadership. This is pure desperation, and it is humiliating as a citizen of a country that once led the world in opportunity. It's absolutely humiliating.
We're on a better fiscal path than some of our G7 colleagues.
We are dead last in the G7. He's lying. This is part of my frustration with the Liberals, is they lie. And the mainstream media will not call them out on it, or weren't. Maybe this week we started to see some of the mainstream start to call them out on it. But yeah, they just lie, and they think they're immune because they bought the media.
And you project our deficit staying under 2% of GDP and debt holding near the low 40% range. Would you agree that these kinds of thresholds are really, in practice, fiscal anchors that signal some discipline?
I would go back to one of the comments I made at the outset that like the most important word in the release this morning was unsustainable. We didn't choose it carelessly. I've been in the office for 17 years. I was working in the federal government putting together budgets for 10 years prior to that. You got to be like, you choose these words with prudence and care. And certainly we don't want to be alarmist. And at the same time, the current path we're on in terms of federal debt as a share of the economy is unsustainable.
I just can't even fathom, unless you truly are evil, being a government and seeing at every turn when you have implemented policies that have hurt your people, that have hurt your country, that have hurt your reputation, if you're egotistical and you care about that, which presumably people like Justin Trudeau and Mark Carney do, that you would see those things, you would see how the market reacted, and you would keep doing them. There's no other explanation for that other than maliciousness. Something very nefarious is happening here, because any other country, any other leader would see, oh, shoot, we tried this out. Look at how bad it's really made things terrible. We're sorry. Oops, let's reverse course. But the Liberals don't do that. They just keep doubling down and then adding on even more policy. And, oh, the people are suffering. Great. Let's add a new bureaucracy. Let's take more tax dollars from them. That justifies how hard they're taxed, right? Because we're providing all of these programs that our people need. We shouldn't need them. We shouldn't need them. What we do need is a government who's responsible, who can admit a failure, which would be highly respectable, by the way, and reverse course. And we don't have that at all. Why? Why is that? And so, I think the very first step in fixing all of this is waking up to the fact that the old Liberal Party, that old brand, no longer exists, and it hasn't for a long time. And if you have been voting Liberal because you trusted the party that you grew up with, or you remember the Liberal Party of old, I think it's really time for you to ask yourself, does this government still share my values? Do I approve of this? Is my life better?
Jasmine's 100% correct on this. I've told this story before, and I'll repeat it here. I have an 87-year-old mother with dementia. When I was young in the 70s, we would watch CBC News because we got CBC. We got a channel called CFRN, which is now CTV, but it was regional back then out of Edmonton. And we got French. Those were the only three channels we got on our TV. So we watched CBC National News. And that's what she was conditioned to watch. And she watched it all these years later, and that's what she watches. So nowadays, when I go to her rest home and she'll talk to me about stuff, and she'll say, well, I saw on the news this and this. And I'm like, yeah, but that's not the full story, Mom. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'll go over the whole story. And she's like, she gets so frustrated. She's like, well, why aren't they telling me that? I'm going, because you're watching CBC and they're no longer a media outlet. They're a state propaganda outlet. But she's 87 years old with dementia, so you're not going to break her habits. This is what, she's, in her mind, it's still the 1960s, 1970s. And that's the type of respectability of the news that was back then that she still thinks is in practice today. But it's not. And yeah, it's, that's part of the problem why, I know a lot of people get frustrated with seniors, but they got to understand that a lot of these seniors, they don't recognize the modern media for what it is. They still think the media is what was there back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, when the media actually was reporting and being media. It wasn't being propaganda. It wasn't pushing ideology of a certain party. It was just telling you the facts and letting you come to your own conclusion, which is what media is supposed to do.
Or has it left me behind? Because I think the vast majority of Canadians, judging by even, the food report, the food banks report, I think the vast majority of Canadians have been left behind. And they keep voting in this way because it's what they're used to. And you're a lifelong Liberal. You don't actually even care. You just vote for the Liberal Party because that's what I've always done. I'm a Liberal because I'm a good person, and I'm a good person because I'm a Liberal. That isn't working. It's driving us into the ground. This isn't even about being left or right. This is just about being right or wrong. And the direction that we're headed in right now is horrifically wrong. So something to think about there. I'm Jasmine Lane. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. It really does help this channel grow and get more eyes and ears on it. And if you don't like me, subscribe to another creator doing the same things that I am on here. Give your support wherever you can, because there's a lot against conservative commentary, especially on platforms like Google and just on the internet in Canada, which is also heavily regulated and controlled by the federal government and unelected bureaucracies. So that means an awful lot. Like this video, comment your thoughts down below, share it, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
So there you go. Like I said, first off, again, look in the video description, and I will have a link there to Jasmine's YouTube channel. And after you subscribe to my channel, hint, hint, go to her channel and subscribe to her channel. The other reason you want to do that is Carney is they're trying to bring out new censorship laws, and if you need to know what they're like, go look at the UK. Because he helped draft those UK rules and he wants to bring them into Canada. And if they do pass, chances are all the political commentators on YouTube are going to go bye-bye. Because he doesn't want you getting your news from any outlet that he doesn't own, basically. You know, CBC gets $2 billion a year from Canadian taxpayers. CTV, Global, Globe and Mail, Toronto Red Star, they all get a share of a $600 million a year slush fund from taxpayers. And this is all from the Liberal government. So, you know, they're all invested to promote the Liberal government. And yeah, so when you subscribe to my channel or Jasmine's channel or David's channel on Moose on the Loose or Josh's channel on Elevate or Wyatt's channel on National Telegraph or Mark Nixon's channel, you get notified when a new video goes up, regardless of the censorship. And because once that censorship goes through, you're not going to see these on the suggested anymore. That's going to be wiped out. So unless you're subscribed, you're not going to be notified of new videos. So something to keep in mind if you're interested. But yeah, Canada's going down a dark path right now. Our fiscal outlook is horrible. It's absolutely terrible. The Carney just delayed his budget again. We haven't had a budget in over a year. Like, we've gone a full calendar year without a budget for our government. That's never happened in Canadian history. Never. Until now. And he's just delayed it to December or November because he is going to be bringing out, it's rumored to be $100 to $130 billion deficit for this year. Just for this year. Record deficit. And most of that money is going overseas. It's not going on Canadians. Like, I'm not for deficits. One of the reasons I do support the Conservatives is I believe in fiscal accountability. And so I'm not a fan of these deficit spendings, but at least you can make the argument, if you're running deficits, that it was improving Canadian health, Canadian lives. But it's not. Most of the money is going overseas. It's not going to Canadians. It's not helping us at all. It's going to the UN and to the UN and the WEF agendas, because that's who Mark Carney serves. That's who he's always served. So anyway, that's the video for today. I hope you found it interesting. I hope it woke some of you up, because some of you really do need to wake up to the reality of what's going on in Canada. And yeah, so anyway, if you like this video, leave a like, a subscribe, and a share. I'm trying to grow my channel, and a like, a subscribe, and a share does me wonders, and I do appreciate it. Takes 1 second to subscribe, costs you absolutely nothing, helps me immensely. Just hit the subscribe button on the bottom of the screen. Always feel free to leave a comment. I encourage everybody to leave a comment. Not only does it get us interacting, but it really does help me with the YouTube algorithm and getting more eyes on my videos. And as always, pew, 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 and shit. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. Bye.